Well, it looks like we got 15 of the 17 attendees in. Let me see who else we got on the line here, too. Ross, are you in yet? I see you signed in, but you may not have done the audio yet, so we'll just wait 1 second. We've got a couple other people that look like they're signing in and getting their audio sign in as well. Very good. Let's see here. I'll go through my list here as I'm looking at everybody just to make sure everybody's doing okay. Let's see. Thing looks pretty good. All right, we've got 16 in. We've got 2 more to go. Then we'll get rolling. Probably won't be a real long webinar today, guys. That single subject that we're going to cover. There's some information we've covered in the past. I'm going to throw a couple of wrinkles at you as we get rolling. And but again, probably won't be a long one. Hey, Ross, are you in now?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, great. Okay. I'm going to leave you unmuted, Ross, in case you want to join in. Everybody else is muted at this time, and we'll just kind of go from there. Is it okay with you?
Sounds good.
All right. We've got 21 that are on the attendee list. 18 have signed in thus far, so we've got a few little stragglers here and there. We'll wait just a couple more minutes, of course. We've got about 4 or 5 minutes left to go anyway. Again, if everybody, as new people are signing in, just so they hear my voice to know that their audio is on. Just want to let you know that you are on, hopefully.
Mike?
Excuse my
Hi.
Yeah. Hey, Becky, how are you?
Good. And I see that Ross is here.
Yep, Ross is on. You and Ross and I are on audio. Everybody can hear us, but no one else can chime in at this point. So just wanted to let you know that.
I have a question for you, Mike.
Yeah, go ahead.
How do I see the attendee list?
You should be able to see it if there should be like a plus sign with a little button that has a plus sign. If you'll hit that, it should show you the attendee list. Or you actually, I would think you should be able to see what I'm seeing right now on my screen that has the attendee list viewed right now, or it's up right now. But maybe not.
Ross, can you see the attendee list?
No, I cannot. I wasn't able to last time either.
No, I wasn't either.
Oh, they are, because that's what it said, is that you should see my dashboard as well. Okay. Is there a question? There's 20 people that are in, 23 that have signed up, so we have 2 or 3 still that aren't in all the way. So I apologize about that. That was my understanding that the panelists could see that. I know you guys can talk and interact with me, but it looks like we have a new person, Wanda. I don't Wanda, I don't think. Looks like, let's see. It looks like we're in pretty good shape here, guys.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to start recording this. And I'm going to give it 1 more minute. We're at 10:29. I think we have a couple other people trying to get in. Then we'll go ahead and get rolling. Hope everybody had a good week this last week. I know some people had a really good week.
Some people probably had a better week than others. I know I was one of the others.
Yeah, we were one of the others, weren't we?
That's right, we were. But that's okay. We're glad that some folks had a great time.
Well,
We'll have our chance.
That's right. I'm glad to hear that it was a good trip. So I'm sure everybody had a good time, had some good pictures, and a lot of fun with it.
Good.
Certainly, one advantage about this business is some of the incentives and an ability to travel and do some things like that is sure a lot of fun. Okay, guys, I'm going to get rolling here, and Becky, you and Ross are still unmuted, so if anybody wants to chime in, ask a question, feel free to do so, and we're going to roll on. All right, today's title or subject, if you will, for webinar number 3 is our OEM worksheet. I went ahead and sent you guys, and I'm sure it was forwarded on to you, my notes on this, and it was in a Word document. I thought that worked a little bit easier because you actually got to see some of the notes that I'm going to be working off of. I'm going to ad-lib some of the course and go off a bunny trail here or there probably. So a lot of the things I'm going to talk about today are actually encapsulated in those notes. So you have those notes. If you have them in front of you, that's a good thing to do as well, because you could take notes on top of these. If there's anything specific I say that resonates with one of you guys, then you can jot that down, of course. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what we plan to do and what we plan to cover today. In the opportunity management webinar for today, we're going to cover the OM worksheet, and there's 10 parts to that worksheet that we're going to review today. Okay, guys, there's 10 segments to it, if you will, and the 10 parts include the personality types, urgency and classification, sales process, and the buying cycle. Of course, we've covered that quite thoroughly, but we're just going to touch on that. The buyer needs and wants, strengths and weaknesses of your current situation, the OEM action steps. That's actually your opportunity management action steps. It's the things that you're already doing. The dissatisfaction. What are the dissatisfaction of the current prospect? And of course, the proposal. We're just going to touch on the proposal because we again have talked about that quite a bit, both in on-site sales meetings and in the opportunity and in the webinars. So let's continue forward. Okay, what we're going to talk about, I decided to take a little bit more time and talk a little bit about the personality style, some of the buying influences, the roles that people play. I think once you start to kind of understand some of these roles, you really you'll think about customers that you're currently working with, and you have a little bit of an aha experience and say, they're kind of melancholy. Well, they're kind of sanguine or choleric. It'll kind of make sense why you're getting some of the reactions that you're getting. But also, as you're getting better and better at this opportunity management, and you're getting better and better at doing your follow-up and your strategic part of this, of understanding where those buyers are, the better and better you get at that, okay? The more proficient you get at it, the more you can kind of start thinking about personality styles. I didn't want to talk about that up front because I just thought it would be too early in the game to talk about that. But now, as you guys are getting better at the skills part of it, let's talk a little bit about the personality part of it. Okay, let me talk about the sanguine first, because those are one of my favorite personalities, and my wife is a bit of a sanguine person, and a lot of fun to be around because they're really cheerful people. They're very bubbly. They're happy and outgoing kinds of personalities, and they make friends with easily with everyone. So they'll come in and almost make a friend with you. They'll talk about, hey, let's go have some wine somewhere to you. I mean, they really will be interested in you and be interested in a friendship with you regardless of anything else that happens. They're very interesting personalities, and it's almost the ones that you hear that never met a person that that they couldn't talk to or they didn't like, or in many cases it's funny, around my wife, she's like Norm. I know you guys I've heard of Cheers and seen Cheers. I think we're all have seen that series before, and she's like Norm. She can walk in anywhere and say hi, and everybody responds back to her. I mean, everyone knows her, and that's that type of personality. The one thing about them, though, is they're not terribly disciplined people. They really don't like to practice it at anything if they can avoid it, because it's really all about having fun. But they are very much a talker. They're very optimistic, and they're animated people. They're excited. Can be a little undisciplined at times, forgetful. It's really funny because also one of my children are sanguine, and she forgets the things everywhere, her keys, her wallet, everything. So they're very forgetful people. And of course, as you guys have mentioned to you guys before in the past, she's a performance major at UT Tyler, and as a performance major, you can imagine she's very theatrical. So everything is a performance with her. They tend to really like, in terms of a home, they like the surroundings that are really open. Okay, so keep that in mind when you're dealing with them. And it really fits because they like an open, kind of comfortable environment, something that's low maintenance. Because remember, they don't like to practice. They don't want to spend a lot of time cleaning. They'd like the home to clean itself if it could. But so they're really interested in a kind of a low maintenance kind of environment, and in an environment where they can easily entertain both inside and outside. Okay, that's kind of what they like. And when it comes to a list of needs, the list of needs aren't nearly as long as the list of wants. That's always been a big tip-off for me with those sanguine personalities, is they always come in with a list of wants that are a mile long, and their needs, you almost kind of got to get it out of them because it's all about, again, it's all about entertaining and about their wants. However, be very careful because they are very changeable and eager to get the process over so they can get back to having fun. So they can go to your competition and say one thing to your competition, come to you and say a completely different thing, because they are very changeable. Okay, so that's one thing you kind of have to look out for when you're dealing with those sanguine personalities. Okay, that's just what they tend to do. All right, and then let's talk next a few minutes about the choleric personality. And choleric, they love to be in control. They're kind of the bull in the china closet kind of personality. They're the ones that come into the model home and they just kind of hold their hand up at you almost, and they just kind of storm through the house, looking at everything. And those are the kind of personalities. Usually I go plant myself somewhere in the model where I know sooner or later everyone comes to the kitchen. So when I see that personality style, I head to the kitchen. That way I know sooner or later they're going to get there. They tend to know exactly what they want, and they're perfectly willing to let everyone know they know what they want. Okay, they're very direct in that way. And this is something that's interesting about cholerics, is they really can sense people that don't know what they're talking about, and they also can sense the opposite. They can sense people that do know what they're talking about. And I'll tell you something about cholerics. They are opinionated, but the interesting thing about them is they tend to be right in their opinion. That's just one of the gifts that they have. They are right frequently, and whenever I run into those kind of personalities, I always try to give them a lot of space and listen to them, talk to me, and be attentive. Anyway, they'll give their opinion easily. Sometimes it's in a confrontational style. But here's the paradox about them. They tend to be really sensitive to criticism, and they feel like they're frequently misinterpreted, especially in interpersonal relationships. If you're talking to them and you're going back and forth and you're discussing things, they can accidentally hurt your feelings. They don't mean to. They actually are very sensitive about that kind of thing. Okay, they tend to be. And so just kind of be aware of that they tend to be direct, but that's not a personal thing with you. Okay, they actually really care about not hurting other people. Okay, when looking for a home, they know what they want. Okay, as I said before, they can initially be really aloof, not wanting to give away too much information because, again, they don't want you to know the quality of the knowledge that they have. Okay, they want to hold that back for later. They tend to be controlling of the sales process. It'll be hard to kind of pin them down for an appointment sometimes, or you'll talk to them about an appointment and you'll say, well, how about Monday or Wednesday? And they'll say, well, no, how about Thursday? That's just kind of how they are. They're going to want to be in control of that process with you. They're going to want to set the agenda. But the positive thing about them, guys, is they will make a decision, and they'll make a decision and move on from that. Okay, they won't battle around about it. I mean, if you can give them the information, and they will make a decision, and they'll move forward with it. Okay. And again, like I said, sometimes they'll bruise other people in the process of negotiating or in the process of finding a home. And then when you get to the end, it's funny about them. They frequently feel like they should be congratulated for the process. They kind of ramrodded it, and they got it done, and they feel like, hey, they almost need to be congratulated in a way. If you think back about those kind of personalities that you've seen in the past, you've dealt with, you probably will realize that. They kind of, after they're done, they kind of want to plant the flag, I did it kind of deal. And how they respond best to salespeople is salespeople that are really knowledgeable, decisive, and service-oriented. So kind of keep those three things in mind when you're dealing with that choleric personality. Okay. Okay, now melancholy, let's talk a little. I know this is a lot of information. I gave you the notes. It's a little bit dry here on the information, but I really want to give this to you so we can talk about it further in upcoming sales meetings and sessions and things like that. So I want you to be thinking about some of these things. All right, melancholies are sensitive to their surroundings. They tend to be moved to tears. Okay, you can hurt their feelings, the melancholy, and they will be very emotional. They're very moody, and it's not unlike them to cry in a particular setting or get emotional in a particular setting. That's just their personality. They also tend to be, which is interesting, a little bit compulsive. They love lists. Okay, that'll be the prospect that comes in you and sits down and has a 2-page list of things that they want in their home or things that they're considering. That's a melancholy. That's a big tip-off to you guys who that is. They tend to be very project-oriented, and they tend to be kind of an overachiever. Okay, they will overachieve, and a lot of times I see them as firstborns. They're interesting firstborn dynamic there. They fear failure and they fear rejection from other people. So sometimes it's interesting about how they'll tell other people about their home. They'll wait real late in the process before sometimes getting other people involved. But then at the very last minute, they almost do. They'll call someone in at the last minute. And that's because they fear that someone's not going to like what they're doing until at the very end when they have kind of a confirmation in their mind that they want to bring other people in. And those are the ones that will bring someone in late into the game. Sometimes it can be a realtor. Sometimes it can be a personal friend or something like that. Those are melancholies. They tend to do that. Now, the other thing about them is they get discouraged when everything doesn't turn out as planned. And if no one else seems to care, they get discouraged about that as well. And this is where sometimes melancholies can be a little frustrating during the build process, is they have a dream in their mind of a perfect home, and they get depressed when it doesn't happen. And I try to tell people that there are no perfect people, no perfect marriages, and no perfect homes, okay? And I just try to set that expectation with people, and that kind of helps a little bit when dealing with them regarding the process, okay? And now, to also add on to that, knowing those things doesn't, how you measure a company is how we respond to situations, right? And that's how I talk to people a lot, is how you measure me is how I respond to you and things that occur. And I always respond in a certain way. And sometimes guys, you also have to ask them, what is the level of communication that you desire from me? Because different personalities will require different things, right? So sometimes when I'm talking to folks, I'm setting those expectations, I ask them that. And some people say, hey, just call me when it's done. I mean, I've had those. I'm sure you have too. Others that are melancholies, they're going to want to set time that you get back with them and talk about where they're at in the construction of the home. They're list people, okay? That's kind of where you kind of got to understand these folks. Okay. They collect and analyze, right? And they often, when they're working with you, they'll often ask questions that are deep and purposeful in their mind, okay? So be patient with them and answer the questions, okay? They can sometimes get discouraged by the sales process if things don't go the way they think they ought to. But hang in there with them, okay, and encourage them and be positive around them. They tend to not like salespeople that are really kind of pushing the sales process over getting them the answers that they want, because it doesn't fit with their thinking style, okay? They just don't think that way. So be patient with them, ask questions to them, be a resource, and be caring and sensitive to their moodiness, because they will be. Okay? All right, and the last one, and sometimes one of the most difficult people to sell to are phlegmatics. Okay? They tend to be passive and understanding, all right, which is kind of an interesting dynamic. They love to help other people, so they'll come across to you like they're really trying to help you out and answer questions and do those kinds of things for you. But don't ask them to take control of anything, because they won't. They just don't do that. It just doesn't fit their personality. They are a peacemaker. They are the mediator of the family. They're easygoing, they're calm, relaxed, patient, inoffensive, quiet, but can be witty. They're not terribly motivated or terribly enthusiastic, because a lot of times that requires some decision making, and they don't want to make decisions because, again, sometimes those decisions upset the apple cart or create tension, and they're all about keeping a situation calm and relaxed. Okay, so when you're dealing with a phlegmatic, they basically desire peace, and they don't like making those decisions because they view them as trouble. So they'll answer all of your questions, and they're going to be seen ready to go. You're going to think, okay, these folks are about to purchase. I'm setting it up, and everything seems like it's going to be a go. They'll come in, and you think that you're going to write the deal, and they suddenly don't write. And it may take weeks or months to ever get them to go ahead and write the purchase agreement. And again, that's that phlegmatic style that you have to kind of work with, okay? And I would approach that with, if they make the decision, what that decision, how that will create peace for people, how that will create peace for the family, you know, how that will be a solution for them. All right, so speak in those terms if you ever bump into phlegmatic, and you will. They tend to marry more domineering personality styles, phlegmatics do, because that works together with those. So just be aware of that, okay? Ross, Becky, any questions about any of this that I've covered so far?
I'm good right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
okay.
interesting.
All right. Yeah, isn't it? And I would encourage everyone, if I have before, a personality tree by Florence Littauer. This is based on that. Like I mentioned before, she probably does the best job I've ever seen of a non-professional view of personality styles. Okay, and so if you ever guys want to just have a look at that, then I would recommend that as a definite book to read. Okay, let's talk a little bit about urgency. Urgency, guys, as you know, is that prospect's timeline to purchase. Okay, so this is a pretty simple part. You know, are they have a high urgency, a low urgency, a medium urgency? Of course, as you guys know, that will change a little bit. But remember one thing is that most people, 35% of prospects out there will buy in the first 60 days. Remember, way back when I was showing you guys an illustration that for 2008 it was 32% that bought in the first 30, and now it's 35% buy in the first 60. Okay, so it's real important that you understand where they are in their urgency, and that plays into how you classify that lead, of course. Okay, so that classification speaks of the ranking that you give them. Now, the fact that you're doing a worksheet with someone, that probably means you've had some kind of conversation with them. I'm certain it does. You've had some kind of maybe direct contact with them or phone contact with them. You've had an opportunity to maybe get the registration card filled out, you've taken notes on the back, and done those things so that you can get a sense of how to classify them. So most of the times they're probably going to be an A or a B when you're at this point, when you're at this stage. Okay, well, let's talk a little, just a second then about the sales process in the buying cycle as well. You know, the sales process, again, that's pretty self-explanatory, guys. As you start to look at them and talk to them, you can kind of understand what you've already done. This is just a checkoff system. It's not hard. I've done the discovery. I've done the demo. I've done some preliminary financial qualification. And again, it's one of those things that, you know, I think Mike Boulin talked about this before too, is that whenever we lose a sale, we can always go back and look at the critical path, and there's something about that fundamental of the critical path that we didn't do well, and that many times leads to a cancellation. So make sure we check those things off so we don't get in a situation where we slip up and realize, hey, there's something we forgot in the process, okay? Now, your buying cycle we've covered quite a bit. It's really important as part of this opportunity management worksheet to understand where they're at. And we'll get into some of the reasons why as we work into the worksheet a little bit. But please make sure that you're checking that as well. You're understanding where we're at in that whole process too. Okay. Okay. Buying needs, importance, and pivot options. Now, one of the things that's important about this, guys, is this is just a basic listing. You know, you want to list things that not a lot of times I'm telling you to list things, but this would be a listing, and you want to put the degree of importance of those lists of needs that they are stating to you as they come in, and as you've talked to them on the phone or emails, put the list right in there and put the degree of importance on it. You know, and then create pivot options. If those stated needs don't fit well with which solution you're offering, start to look at pivot options. Let me give you a good example. You know, if someone's looking for a 3-car garage, you know, the question will be, are you going to use all 3 cars, all 3 bays for cars, or are you needing storage? And if they're saying, I'll tell you, 9 times out of 10, it is, I need storage. Well, then your option could be a tandem, right, instead of a 3-car, or it could be a 2.5-car. You know, so look for opportunities where you can do a pivot. I know I can't remember what salesperson, but it was someone in Houston that was working with someone that was looking at a single story. But one of the needs that really became important to them, or one of the needs that they had that he had to create a pivot option for, was a big backyard. So they started out with a 1-story, and they ended up with a 2-story, creating the bigger backyard. that's a great example of a pivot option that can help you make the sale. So always be thinking of pivot options with these stated needs that fit, that can work into your solution. Okay, so okay, yeah, I think we've covered that pretty well. Now, buying influences on the want side, you want to treat them just basically the same, okay? Because there's an interesting dynamic that goes on here. A lot of times when you are dealing with two purchasers, you're dealing with a husband and wife, that kind of situation, or anytime you're dealing with two purchasers, period, they're each going to have their own dissatisfaction, okay? They're all going to have their own issues, their own wants and needs, okay? And so having the wants in there and a good list of those and treating them the same way, you'd be surprised, and I'm sure you guys are already aware of this, how many times a want will become a need. And sometimes it's part of the negotiation process with somebody. You know, like, let's say it's a husband and wife. Let's say the husband gets X, Y, Z, all right? And then so now the wife on the other side might have a want that was just a want that suddenly now becomes a need because of a negotiation between the two of them. So always keep those in there, and it's probably not a bad idea to put an initial even by some of these wants of who it is that's stating it. I don't have a column in there for it. That's not a bad idea to do. It's not a bad process to do it that way, okay? Okay. And again, remember the wants indicate for you where they are in the buying cycle. You know, a lot of times it's a trade-off. You know, the buying cycle, there's a trade-off section for that. It's refining the solution. So there's a lot of go-between both parties when it comes to this, and even between you and them, okay, because you can sometimes redefine some of those things. Let me give you a great example of additional influences, though, this last column over here. I remember I lost a sale one time, and the reason why I lost it was over a service door, okay? In passing, someone mentioned about their dog and about, you know, where are they going to put their dog and things like that. And I just thought it was a statement. I didn't really think of it as something that they really needed. But I ended up losing the sale, and when I followed up and asked about, you know, what was it that was the part of the final decision making, well, my competition had a service door on the side of their garage that went to the backyard, and they were going to be able to change that door out for a doggy door to let their dog get in and out of the weather. I mean, I'm just like, so I lost that opportunity for a sale, and of course I could have done that, but I didn't quite understand the significance of that. So sometimes, guys, there's a fine line between making a sale today and not. So you really want to try to cover as many of these details as possible, and making a list of these helps keep it in your mind straight, and it helps keep you focused, okay? Real briefly, just talking about what are our current strengths. Again, this is, you know, do your strengths match or solve their stated dissatisfaction, okay? This is where you really kind of step back and take a look at, okay, I understand the needs, I understand the wants, but how does it really match up with my strengths in terms of the solution that I can provide today, okay? And list those strengths out there. And then come over to the other side, of course, and you want to list whatever the weaknesses are or the threats are to you making a sale. Sometimes it's a competition in what they offer. Sometimes it's price. Sometimes it could be availability. Sometimes it could be product design. I mean, it could be any number of things, but you want to make sure you list those that are there. So then at that point, you can take the appropriate action, and that's where it comes over to the actual activities that you're going to do in your opportunity management system. What things are you going to do? How are you going to communicate your strengths at the same time, reduce your weaknesses, and if possible, eliminate your competition in the process? Now remember, what I've said many times is that if you continue dialogue with people, the sales process is continuing. The minute that you don't have dialogue back and forth with someone, the sales process is ended. And that's what all this is about. If you have these stated wants, you have these stated needs, you know, understand the strengths, those are real primers for a continued dialogue with somebody. And again, you know, what are we trying to accomplish, fix, or avoid? This is the dissatisfaction part of it. And hopefully by this time you understand what it is that they're trying to accomplish, fix, or avoid, what the dissatisfaction is. Now remember, I mentioned earlier, every buyer, husband and wife buyer, will have their own sense of dissatisfaction. They'll have an agreement of some basic ones, but then they'll also have theirs. Be sure to ask questions about them individually, okay? What would you guys like to see in your home? What kind of things would you like to bring from your last home into this one? When was the last time you purchased a home? Those will all give you a context to ask those questions, to get the information you need in order to talk about the dissatisfaction, okay? All right. One thing that I will also mention to you, I know, I think maybe it was Larry in Houston, I believe. We were talking about the OM worksheet, and I got an email from her that just simply said, hey, I've used the OM worksheet when we first got started, and I've got someone that's now converting into a sale. All right. And I would strongly encourage everybody that's listening, all you salespeople out there in Houston and Dallas, to make sure you take the time, especially on A and Bs, and that's who you're primarily focusing on, to do an opportunity management worksheet. At first, you'll kind of, it took me a while to kind of get myself oriented to it, but the more I did it, after I did it for like 4 or 5 or 6 prospects, then it started to get a flow to it, and I really started to see the benefit of it. I know a lot of times, it's kind of like the opportunity management, what I've been telling you guys, you have to consistently, persistently do it over time in order to get the benefits, the true benefits from it. If you'll do that with these folks, with your A and Bs, you'll consistently and persistently and faithfully do this opportunity management worksheet with those, you'll find that your opportunity to succeed really goes up because you're not going to be surprised by things. All right, and that's one of the biggest killer to sales is things that are unknown. And I know you guys feel the same way, how many times you've lost sales because of something you weren't aware of. And this really helps bring all those things out. Okay, so what I would like to do now is just see if there's anybody that's got any specific questions about opportunity management. Of course, we didn't cover the proposal part because we've talked a lot about that already. Other than just, I want to make a comment or two about the proposals. Just make sure that the proposal that you have it set up that it's going to give, put your best step forward, and that it covers most of the needs and wants so that your proposal fits with a solution for the family. That's probably one of the biggest things. And then also, I know I've gotten emails and communicating with salespeople in both Dallas and Houston that are really faithfully using this proposal approach and have had a lot of success with it. So if you're one of the ones that have had multiple sales because you've called people up and said, hey, I have a home that fits your needs and would like to sit down and talk to you about it, or if you were more direct to have a proposal to purchase a home from us, however you're approaching it, the folks that are doing that, I consistently am getting comments of how effective it is. So if you're doing it now, continue to do it, be faithful to it. If you haven't done it, start doing it, guys. I promise you're going to get some great results from it, just based on the comments from other salespeople within your organization. Okay? Okay. I wanted to entertain some questions here before I get to the good laugh part. If there's anybody that's got a question, you have a button or has any information they want to share about the OM worksheet. You have a button on your screen that says that you basically raise your hand and you can ask a question. I think Mike asked a question earlier just to make sure he was hearing everything. But this would be a good opportunity to ask a question about the OM worksheet. If you have a question or if you have a question about the process, or even if you have really a kind of testimonial of how you're currently using it and how effective it is for you, I'd love to hear any comments that you guys may have at this point. And while I'm waiting to see if anybody's going to raise their hand, I'm just going to check with Becky and Ross. Any comments about or questions that you have about the material I've covered, Ross especially?
You caught me without having any comments readily available for a change.
That's a first for you, Ross. You always have a comment.
Yes.
Well, I have a question. I'm sorry.
Okay.
My question is, how long is it taking people to complete these OM worksheets? How long does it take them typically?
Good question. I think, for me and for the feedback that I'm getting from other people is after you've had a one-to-one with folks, usually when they come through the model, and if they don't purchase that day and you are getting pretty close and they're ranked in A or B, then you can complete 75% of the worksheet probably, if not more, at that time. And then it's a matter of you're doing your opportunity management system, your follow-up, in order to fill in some of the pieces, because ultimately, in the process of filling in the pieces, you want to get another appointment. And that's kind of what the whole goal of the worksheet is to create enough of the solutions that you're trying to get for this family that they're going to come back out. And you only can do that by continuing the dialogue. So initially, you can get a lot of it completed very quickly. And of course, guys, the better that you've gotten at the registration process, the easier this whole process will be.
Is Cheryl on the call with us? Cheryl Turner?
I'm sorry?
Is Cheryl Turner on the call with us?
Cheryl? Let's see here. Let me see. It's in alphabetical order, so it should just take me a second. No, I don't see her.
Okay.
Unless it's with an S. Let me check S.
She may not have been available today. I thought she might have a question because she hasn't been involved in this as long as some of the rest of us.
Well, I do have a question in here. Let's see. Let's see what the question is here real quick if I can get my fingers to work right. Yeah, this relates back to the back of the registration card. And using the back of the registration card where you can. I mean, I think I sent out kind of a modified version of it. You might even copy it, okay, and just cut it down to the size that you need on that registration card and just put it on the back of it. You know, you can tape it to it or you can stick it to it, however you want to do it. But I think in the future, I'm hoping, of course, we've been talking about when we do a reprint that aspects of this will be reprinted on the back, again, to save effort and not duplicate effort for you guys. So let's see, we had another question as well. Let's see here. No, maybe not. Okay. Any other questions, guys? Okay. Ross, you have any last questions here before I let everybody go? And let them see
I'm
this
good
funny
right now,
little
Mike.
picture.
Okay. No, I'm good right now.
Well, guys, I just want to say congratulations to the folks that ended up going to Costa Rica. I'm sure you all had a wonderful time. I know the folks that were still here in the States working are going to make it on the next trip. And just keep doing what you're doing. Do the opportunity management. Stay faithful to this. Work the process. Remember, I really try to teach you guys a process that everyone can do. It's easily duplicatable. It's something that you can do day in and day out that'll have measured results. Okay, so if you'll just trust me on this, continue to work it like I know you are, you're going to get some fantastic results. Okay, and here's a good laugh. We were talking about trips and going places, and I know some of you probably rode a zip line while you were down there, and this is a very goofy picture of me. Every time I look at it, I laugh because I have this really goofy look on my face. So for those of you that rode the zip line, hopefully you didn't have a look like that, and for those of you who haven't, don't get a look like that when you go to ride a zip line. Okay, it was a very embarrassing moment. Matter of fact, everybody that rode the zip line with me afterwards, and they pulled my picture up, they were talking about buying my picture because it was just so goofy looking. So anyway, guys, y'all have a great week, and next week we'll catch up with you again for another webinar. Feel free to email me, as a lot of you have continued to do, just in a closing comment. I appreciate the emails and phone calls, asking questions, requesting additional information. You guys have been great about that. Don't be bashful. Continue to do that. I'm here to support you, and look forward to talking to you again real soon. Becky, Ross, I'm going to sign off. Y'all take care.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.